What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It is time for a review of the third studio album by alternative and indie pop band Foster the People. It's called Sacred Hearts Club, and it's the follow-up to 2014's Supermodel. We did get the 3 EP preceding that, and I honestly really enjoyed that for the most part. There were 3 really good songs there, and even though Doing It for the Money was probably my least favorite of those, it still had great qualities to it. Pay the Man was super smart. I love the instrumental on it. It's very progressive and forward-thinking. Mark Foster came through with some fantastic lyrics, and he keeps that up for the rest of the record. Honestly, I've always admired that about him, and his songwriting is definitely getting better as the band continues on. In my review of Supermodel, I definitely feel like I went a little bit overboard in terms of how I felt about it. I reviewed it too quickly. I reviewed it while I was at work, and I wasn't really in the right mindset to cover an album like that, and it has gotten a little bit tedious for me with repeated listens over time. I haven't found myself coming back to it other than a few tracks like maybe Best Friend or even the opening single Coming of Age. I really do still have a lot of love for Torches, their debut. Just fantastic, catchy stuff, a lot of melodies that just roll on for days. Pumped Up Kicks is obviously the song that turned me onto them, and so many others. It was their crossover success that propelled them to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, and Torches, I believe, went platinum in the US. Supermodel was definitely not the success that Torches was, didn't have any hit songs on it for the most part other than maybe the alternative songs charts, but I think this is them kind of bouncing back, shaking that off and not saying, hey, that was a horrible record, but getting back to, I guess, writing songs that maybe they wanted to make a bit more, and I can definitely feel the passion in the music more this time around. It's weird, it does have psychedelic influences, 60s, 70s, and modern trap and pop stuff as well. It's really all over the place, but at the same time, it's not the muddled mess and the sonic disaster that you might think whenever you hear all of those things, and that's why I would describe the sound of this record as psychedelic trap. I don't know if that's actually a term, but maybe it should be. I don't say psychedelic trap just because, oh, every song just combines those elements and every song is a fight between the two sides. It's not like that. It's just that there's a lot of transitions, and not hard transitions, not something that just slaps you upside of the head with, oh, this booming bass right after we heard the 60s inspired song like Static Space Lover. It's more of a kind of, oh, we're moving into this world now. We're shifting into this atmosphere, and it never feels unnatural to me. If you saw my review of the 3 EP, you know that I was very optimistic for this project. I enjoyed the songs on it, and I was like, oh, this seems like a really good comeback. And honestly, I think that they did a good job of mixing it up. I think that was a great sampler for what was to come, because obviously with Pay the Man, it was a little bit of both, the alternative and the pop and the trap, a little bit of everything, the weird sound effects going in the background as well, but also smart and sharp and biting lyrics. And then we had Doing It for the Money, which was more of a fun tune, and then SHC, which definitely had the bright alternative guitars of their debut Torches and the uplifting, echoey outro of the track that I really love as well. Mark Foster shines big time on that one. And I do think that they kind of brought a lot of this to the table throughout the record. Obviously, you have moments like I Love My Friends, which isn't a top favorite for me. It's a bit silly sometimes in the lyrics, the way that he does the play on words there. All of my friends, I love my friends, and that sort of thing. It's just kind of a smooth retro jam, and then they have other songs like Static Space Lover that also play to that, but they also play up the trap and kind of booming bass on moments like Loyal, like Sid and Nancy, which was technically the lead single from this record. I know we had the 3 songs that were already released, but we also got this one and Sit Next to Me, which are vastly different tunes, but also 2 amazing ones. Loyal, like Sid and Nancy, is something that I did not expect whatsoever. I didn't expect to like it even on the first listen, but now listening through, it's one of my top favorites. I looked into the title of Loyal Like Sid and Nancy because I was like, this probably isn't just 2 random names. Let's see what's going on here. And apparently it's about Sid Vicious, the former bassist who died of a heroin overdose, who was in the Sex Pistols, and his girlfriend Nancy, who was obviously loyal to the end, but also seemed to be in a world of pain whenever she was around him, just that atmosphere that she dragged him down into. And you can feel a lot of weird influences all over this thing. It's almost like you've stepped into an alternate reality. You're surrounded by mirrors, you're seeing yourself all in like every corner, and you're like, hey man, get away from me. And that's something that slams the bass as that line rolls in, and it's really all over the place. There's a lot of rolling hi-hats on this, a lot of production, not many really guitars or actual instruments, but Mark Foster is still in total control here. And really, to just be the polar opposite of that almost, we have Sit Next to Me, which contains more like Spoon-like influences, maybe from their most recent album, Hot Thoughts, and it's something that's much more danceable. It has a very standout and striking bass line, a lot of spry guitars on it, and a great melody. I love it. I feel like a big reason this album actually feels like an album and not just a random collection of songs that cater to different styles and genres is the transitory tracks like Orange Dream and Time to Get Closer. Even though they are short, they definitely have kind of these spaced out and psychedelic feels, and they do serve as transitions. Like if you went just straight from Lotus Eater into Loyal like Sid and Nancy, it might feel a bit more jarring and abrupt, but instead they have like a minute-long track, Time to Get Closer, which definitely fills that void and actually transitions you smoothly into that. So you have to give them credit where credit is due there. They definitely do a great job of making this album feel very secure, very rooted, but at the same time diverse. Lotus Eater is an amazing tune. I love this one. It's something that seems bitter, just kind of like cynical, like Mark Foster is at this event or he's somewhere that he doesn't want to be, and he's saying, I didn't want to come here in the first place. I don't know why I'm standing here. And it has these sharp guitars that definitely feel like older, a little bit of a funk and a retro feel to them. And they are kind of in the alternative and rock groove on this one. And it's something that they've been playing live for a while now. I was excited to hear this song on an album. I wasn't sure what they would do, if they would add extra instruments to it, but I'm glad that they pretty much left it the way that it was. It's a rock song, and it is one of the best on this record, one of the best of the year that I've heard in the alternative vein. Now, on the other side of that, you definitely have the trap influences that close out this record, like Loyal, like Sid and Nancy, Harden the Paint, which is just a weird tune, but a really, really good one because it is so all over the place. It just makes your mind go like, what exactly were they going for here? And it makes you want to explore the song further. And then, of course, the title track 3, I guess technically the title track of the EP, even though it wasn't on the EP, but this is their third album. I know, confusing. But 3 definitely is diverse, and it's one that I'm kind of on the fence with. There's a couple of others that I think are least favorites that I'll talk about in just a second, but 3 is one that I'm having a hard time making up my mind on because I do like a lot of the influences, whether it be the rolling production or the programming on the tune, or even Mark Foster as a personality, just summing up his thoughts as almost the poet of the record and the mastermind behind everything. I do like the instrumentals, and they do have some actual instruments that pop up as well, not just programming here on 3. It's something that definitely has an array of influences, but at the same time, as I listen through it, it seems a bit inconsistent, especially as the closer for this project that was overall so strong. It's just something that it's going to take time, I think, to settle in with a lot of people. I think that I'm going to say I'm leaning a little bit more towards feeling positive about it, but that could change with time. Who knows? Now, in terms of what's annoying me a bit more, not necessarily annoying me, but a little bit on the less than positive side of the spectrum, we have I Love My Friends, which is a bit repetitive. I don't feel like there's a lot of energy there, or I don't know, something about it feels apathetic. And then Static Space Lover, which is sung with Jenna Malone. She's not someone that I was familiar with prior to listening to this album, and not that she sounds bad paired up with Mark Foster, it's just that it kind of gets drowned in those 60s influences, whereas on a lot of these songs, they make those like kind of wear on their sleeve, but they make them break out and become so much more. But here, Static Space Lover just seems kind of tame, like something that you would sing along at karaoke and everyone would know it because it's very, very simple. I think the biggest praise that I can give to Sacred Hearts Club is the fact that it does have so many different sounds contained within it, but for the most part, it manages to stay fresh and relevant at the same time while incorporating older styles, but also being true to themselves. And I know that that's a lot of things to accomplish with an album, especially for Foster the People. I feel like they definitely had a lot riding on this. They weren't seeing a ton of success with their previous record, and I feel like this is the moment where they were like, okay, we can step up, we can do something, but we can still be smart about it. And I feel like that's what a lot of alternative and rock bands are missing in this day and age. They're just going pop, but at the same time, they're also going dumb. And that's not what Foster the People did. The lyrics are still sharp. They have a lot of insight to them. This is something that I highly suggest reading along with on Genius or on Apple Music with the lyrics, or whatever your preferred method is. If you've got the CD or the vinyl, look at the lyrics, read along with these songs, because you're going to miss out if you don't. I hope you guys will enjoy the album as much as I do. It's something that I feel like is going to merit replays, more listens, and maybe even some of the songs are going to jump into different playlists of mine, and I think that they'll do the same for you. Overall, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5, a strong 4 out of 5 to Sacred Hearts Club by Foster the People. Let me know your thoughts on the record in the comments section down below, and if you're able to, support me on Patreon. It's the annotation over in the corner of the screen. A couple of recent videos are floating right here below me, and if you would like to find me on social media, all of of those links are in the description down below. Other than that, I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV. I looked into the title